Hello, curious minds. Welcome back to Project Silence Prodigy, your one-stop solution for all things project management. I'm Govind, a PMP certified project manager. Today, we are going to talk about user stories, a key element in agile projects. We will begin with the three C's of a user story: card, conversation, and confirmation. And we'll see how they bring clarity and ensure that the story delivers real value. Next, we will look at the invest model to understand what makes a good user story. Then I'll show you how to actually write user stories and define the acceptance criteria so that the team knows exactly when a story is done. We will also explore how to estimate story size using approaches like story points, planning poker, and t-shirt sizing. From there, we will discuss velocity, how it helps team forecast, and we'll wrap up with prioritization techniques that ensure we deliver the most important features first. So let's get started. User story is basically a short and simple description of a feature which is written from the user's point of view. It explains who needs it, what they need, and why they need it. User story is not a long technical requirement document. Instead, it is more like a conversation starter that helps the team focus on the value for the user. In predictive projects, what we call the requirements, here in agile projects, we call them user stories. These stories are often drafted during sprint zero, the preparation phase, and then refined regularly during backlog refinement sessions. The most common format of user story is as a type of user, I want, goal or feature, so that, reason or benefit. For example, here is a user story. As a customer, I want to track my order on a live map so that I know exactly when it will arrive. Three C's of user stories. To really understand user stories, we have to break them down into three C's: card, conversation, and confirmation. What is card? Think of this as a placeholder for the requirement. In the early agile days, it was literally written on a small 3 to 5-inch index card. Today, it could be in a software form like Jira ticket or a Trello card. The card usually includes four things: title or ID. It is a short label or unique number that helps identify the story quickly. For example, A201 live order tracking. Second one is the story format. This is the main description which is written in the standard format. Like, as a customer, I want to track my order on a live map so that I know exactly when it will arrive. Third is priority. This tells the team how important this story is compared to others. For example, high, medium, or low. In this user story, since customers expect transparency in delivery, so this would likely be high priority. And the last one is the reference. It links the story back to the bigger picture, such as the feature or epic it belongs to. This ensures traceability. For example, this story is part of the delivery tracking feature under the order management epic. Second C is conversation. This is the discussion between the product owner and the development team. And it is not a one-time event. It happens continuously in story writing workshop, backlog refinement, and sprint planning. This conversation helps the team clarify details, remove confusion, and explore options. The third C is confirmation, which is the acceptance criteria. These are the conditions that must be met for the story to be considered done. Usually, they are written on the back of the card, and the common format is given, when, then. Given means precondition or starting situation, or context before the action happens. Think of it like this: what do we already know before starting? When means the action the user takes or the event that occurs. Think of it as what happens now. And then means outcome or expected result. Think of it as what should I see or experience? It must be clear, measurable, and testable. So, in short, the first C is the card, which is placeholder, and the second C, conversation, it builds shared understanding, and the confirmation ensures the story is testable and complete. So that's how user stories turn from just a sentence into a powerful tool for delivering real value in agile projects. Invest. This is a quality checklist for user stories. Every good user story should pass this invest test. What is invest? I for independent. A user story should stand on its own. This means it can be designed, developed, tested, and delivered without being blocked by another story. When stories are too tightly coupled, they create dependencies. That means you cannot deliver one without delivering the other. This reduces agility because instead of releasing in small increments, you are forced to bundle multiple stories together. N stands for negotiable. A user story is a promise to have a conversation. It is not a mini contract. The wording on the card can change as the team learns more. Scope, UX, rules, even acceptance criteria can be refined through discussion before and during backlog refinement and up to sprint planning. V stand for valuable. A user story must deliver a benefit a user can feel, solve a problem, remove friction, save time, reduce cost, or create delight. If a story only describes internal issues with no visible benefit, it is not yet user story. E stands for estimable. A good user story should be clear enough that the development team can assign it a size in story points or t-shirt sizing. If the story is too vague, the team won't know how much effort, time, or complexity it involves. So that makes planning unreliable. S means small. A user story should be manageable in size, small enough to be designed, built, tested, and delivered within a single sprint, which is usually 1 to 4 weeks' time. T stands for testable. For a user story, there should be clear pass fail criteria so that testers can confirm if the story is done or not. So, in short, invest ensures that every story is clear, valuable, small enough, and testable, which is ready to be developed without any confusion. Now we have come to an interesting slide. Here we will practically understand how to write the user stories. Suppose our agile team is developing one product, fitness tracking mobile app, and we have four features here: daily activity logging, work plan creation, integration with smart devices, and goal tracking and progress reports. For each feature, we will write one user story to understand the concept in more practical ways. There could be multiple user stories for one feature, but here we will try to write one user story for one feature. So let's take feature 1, daily activity logging. As we discussed in last slide, user story card will contain 4 items. The user story here: as a user, I want to log my steps daily so that I can track my activity level. Second, we will give it a title or ID, which is daily step logging. And priority, we are putting high. And its reference, meaning it belongs to the daily activity logging feature in the backlog. Now, writing the user story alone is not enough. So that's where the conversation comes in. This conversation happens between the product owner and the development team to make sure everyone fully understands the user story and clears up if there are any doubts. So during the conversation, they may discuss about data source for counting steps. Will the step count come from a smartwatch, from the phone sensor, or both? Entry methods of steps will be discussed. The users who don't have a device Should we let them enter steps manually? What will be the frequency of data updating? If the app syncs data, should it update instantly, every hour, or just once a day? They will talk about data history. Can users go back and edit previous data steps? If yes, then how do we ensure the data integrity? And what will be the display format? Should steps be shown as raw numbers or in a progress bar toward a daily goal? So this detailed conversation will happen between development team and product owner. It will add depth and ensure that the story is properly understood and refined before moving forward. Confirmation, the acceptance criteria. This is the final step of the 3 C's, where we make sure everyone agrees on what done really looks like. Acceptance criteria give the team and tester a clear testable checklist. So for our user story, the acceptance criteria would be: given a user has logged steps manually or via autosync, when the entry is saved, then the step count should update instantly in the app. So it is always in the given, when, then format. So for logging steps, if a user logs their steps whether manually or through autosync, then the app should immediately update and display the new step count. The second acceptance criteria for this user story is: given a pair device is connected, when autosync is enabled, then steps should update automatically without manual input. Next acceptance criteria is editing steps count. If a user edits or adjusts their step count and when it is saved, then the system should record and update along with a timestamp to keep a proper history. Another acceptance criteria is regarding dashboard display. If a user has logged steps for the day, when they open the dashboard, then their total daily steps should be clearly visible. And this acceptance criteria is for daily reset. Given a new day start 24-hour cycle, when the app refreshes, then the daily total reset to 0, but past records remain accessible. These acceptance criteria are written in the given, when, then format, which makes them clear and easy to test. They remove any confusion and ensure that the team, product owner, and testers all agree on what it means for the story to be finished and working correctly. Now let's write one user story for feature 2, which is workout plan creation. User stories: as a user, I want to create a custom workout plan so that I can follow a routine that fits my goals. This story is about helping users create their own workout routines inside the app. Title we are giving this story is Custom Workout Plan Creation, and priority is high, and reference: it belongs to the workout plan creation feature in the backlog. Conversations or clarifications. To make this story crystal clear, the product owner and the development team will have conversations around it. And these discussions will help uncover details and remove any kind of doubts. They will discuss about plan structure. Will users build their workout by adding exercise one by one, or should they be able to set broad targets like 3 days of strength plus 2 days of cardio? Team will ask about exercise database. Do we need to provide a built-in library of exercises with categories like cardio, strength, training, and yoga? About scheduling, they will discuss: can users assign workouts to specific days of the week, and should the app also handle rest days? For the customization, should users be able to add their own custom exercises that are not in the database? And how to show the tracking progress. Should the workout plan auto update completion status as workouts are logged? So the card gives us the starting point, but it is conversations that fill in the details and ensure the team fully understands what the user really needs. Now that the product owner and development team have clarified the details of this story, the next step is confirmation. This is where we define the acceptance criteria. So here the acceptance criteria is given a user creates a new workout plan and select exercises. When they save it, then the plan is stored in their profile and accessible from the dashboard. Next criteria is given a user edits a workout plan. When they make changes, then the new version is saved and replaces the old one. Another acceptance criteria, given the plan includes specific workout days. When the user checks their calendar, then the workout should appear on the right days along with reminders. Next, given a user wants to add a custom exercise which is not in the apps library, when they type in the details, then the exercise should be saved and available for use in future plans. The last acceptance criteria for this user story is given a user completes a scheduled workout, when they log it as done, then the app should update progress. For example, showing 3 out of 5 workouts completed this week. So these all acceptance criteria make sure the workout planning feature is built correctly, meeting user expectations, easy to test and aligned with the agreed definition of done. Now let's look at feature 3, integration with smart devices. The user story here is, as a user, I want to connect my smartwatch so that my activity data syncs automatically. So this story is about making the app smarter by connecting it with wearables. The ideal title for this story is Smartwatch Integration. It carries a high priority and it belongs to the feature bucket called Integration with Smart Devices in our backlog. Next is the conversation or clarifications between product owner and development team. The key questions will be about device support. Which smartwatch brand should we support first? Should we start with Apple Watch, Fitbit or Samsung? And what will be the data type? What data exactly should sync? Just steps and calories or also heart rate and sleep data? How do we want our syncing frequency? Should it happen instantly in real time or at regular intervals like hourly or only when the app is opened? What about connectivity? How will the watch talk to the app? Through Bluetooth, Wi-Fi or by linking cloud platforms like Apple Health or Google Fit? What about privacy and security? Since this is sensitive health data, how do we ensure it's stored securely and user privacy is fully protected? So this detailed conversation ensures the whole team has a shared understanding of what smartwatch integration really means before building it. Next, we move on to the acceptance criteria. These are the exact checks in given when then format that will confirm whether the story is complete and working as intended. So the first criteria here is for pairing success. When a user successfully pairs their smartwatch with the app, the activity data like steps, calories, and heart rate should automatically flow into the app. Next criteria is for regular sync. Once the smartwatch is connected, every time the user opens the app, the latest activity data should sync within about 15 minutes. So the information stays fresh. Third criteria is for handling failures. If the sync fails, say because of poor internet, the app should try again automatically once the connection is restored. The last acceptance criteria is for unpairing behavior. If a user decides to unpair their smartwatch, the app should stop importing new data and it must clearly show a message confirming that the device is disconnected. Now let's break down feature 4, goal tracking and progress reports. For this feature, the focus is on keeping users motivated through goals. The story here is, as a user, I want to set a weekly steps goal so that I stay motivated. And title ID is weekly steps goal. Priority we are keeping high. For reference, it belongs to the goal tracking and progress reports feature in the backlog. Come to the conversation between PO and development team. They will discuss about goal types. Should goals be only for steps, or can users also set goals for calories burn and number of workouts? Customization. Will users freely choose any number, or will the app suggest a recommended ranges like 50k to 100k steps per week? There will be discussion about auto adjustments. Should the app learn from past performance and suggest easier or more challenging goals over time? Tracking. Should progress update daily as steps are logged or only at the end of the week? Visualization. How should progress be shown? As charts, percentage completed, or motivational badges? They will talk about notifications. Should the app remind users midweek if they are falling behind to keep them on track? This complete conversation ensures that the whole team clearly understands the scope, clears up doubts, and defines exactly what needs to be built. And once the team has clarified how the feature should work, they move on to the confirmation stage, acceptance criteria. So the first acceptance criteria here is for setting the goal. Given a user sets a weekly steps goal, when the goal is saved, then the goal value appears on their dashboard. Second criteria is for tracking progress. As daily step data is logged either manually or through auto sync, the app should automatically calculate and update the percentage of weekly goal completion. Third criteria is for motivational alerts. Given a user reaches 90% of their weekly goal, when the threshold is hit, then a motivational alert is displayed. Next criteria is for end of week check. If the week ends and the steps are below the target, the app should clearly show the shortfall and motivate the user to try again next week. The last acceptance criteria for this user story is achievement badge. When the user successfully completes their weekly goal, the app should reward them by unlocking an achievement badge, which will also be saved in their profile for future reference. So these criteria make sure there is no confusion. The development team knows exactly what done means. Testers have a checklist to verify, and the product owner can confidently accept the story. Next topic, estimating the size of user stories. In Agile, we do not estimate user stories by giving them exact hours or days. Instead, teams use story points, which are a way to measure the relative size of a story compared to others. Think of it like comparing fruits. If suppose a cherry is your smallest fruit and you are giving that 1 point, then maybe an apple feels about 3 points and a watermelon could be 13 points. The actual size doesn't matter in hours. What matters is how much bigger, harder, or riskier one is compared to the other. Here is a quick example. Suppose story A is simple and straightforward. So we will give it 2 points. And story B, which needs moderate work and has some tricky parts, so we will give it 5 points. And story C, which needs lots of effort, dependencies and risk, so we will give it 13 points. So what do story points really reflect? They capture three key ingredients: effort, how much actual work is needed; complexity, is it technically difficult or logically tangled; risk and uncertainty, are there unknowns, external dependencies, or chances of surprises. Next term is velocity. In Scrum Agile, velocity tells us how much work a team is actually able to finish in one sprint. To figure it out, we add up the story points of all the user stories that were not just worked on but fully completed and accepted during the sprint. For example, imagine a team over 3 sprints. In sprint 1, they finished 20 story points. In sprint 2, they managed 25 story points. And in sprint 3, they delivered 22 story points. So if we look at these results together, we can say the team's average velocity is around 22 to 23 story points per sprint. So this number gives the team a realistic picture of how much work they can take up in future sprints. When we talk about story points in Agile, the next step is to see how teams actually decide the points for each user story. There are several methods of size estimation, and two of the most commonly used are planning poker and t-shirt sizing. Planning poker is probably the most popular technique for user story size estimation. In this technique, each team member gets a set of cards with numbers based on the modified Fibonacci sequence 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 20. The product owner first reads the user story, then the team has a short discussion about it. After that, every member secretly picks a card and that reflects their estimate. All cards are revealed at the same time. If there are big differences, like one person choosing a very low number and another a very high one, so the team discusses the reasons behind it. The beauty of this method is that it sparks good discussion and ensures everyone shares their perspective before deciding. Second popular technique is t-shirt sizing. This is a simpler and more intuitive method. Instead of numbers, stories are classified into sizes like XS, S, M, L, or XL, depending on the level of effort involved. Later, these sizes can be mapped to story points. For example, XS can given 1 point, S can given 2 point, and M can given 5 points. L can given 8 points, and XL can given 13 points. This technique is especially useful in the early stages because it is quick, easy to grasp, and doesn't require too much detailed analysis upfront. Next topic, prioritizing the user stories. Now that we have learned how to write good user stories, the next important question is which story should we build first? In Agile, we often have dozens of user stories and sometimes even hundreds of user stories in the product backlog. But we cannot build everything at once. So that's where user story prioritization comes in. Prioritization helps us decide the order of implementation, making sure we deliver the most valuable features early, manage risk smartly, and avoid spending time on low value items. There are different methods to prioritize the user stories. First is Moscow prioritization. This method is simple but powerful way of classifying user stories based on how essential they are to a release. Here, M stands for must have. These are non-negotiable requirements or user stories. If we don't deliver them, the product or release won't work. They are the core functionality. S stands for should have. These are important but not absolutely critical. If needed, they can be postponed without breaking the release, but they add significant value. Could have. These are nice to have features. They have lower priority, often cosmetic or convenience based. And the last is want have for now. These are features explicitly agreed to be out of scope for the current release. They are not forgotten, just parked for a later horizon. So Moscow gives clarity to both stakeholders and the team about what is essential and what can be traded off when deadlines or resources are very tight. Second method is value risk quadrant. This method uses a 2 into 2 matrix to rank stories based on value, means how much benefit they provide, and risk, how much is unknown or technically challenging. We draw a graph. On x-axis, we draw value, and on y-axis, we draw risk or uncertainty. Now we place each user story in one of the four quadrants. So if we see here, this quadrant is high value, high risk. So we have to do these user stories first because they are critical but also uncertain. So tackling them early reduces risk and helps the team learn faster. Second, we will attend the user stories which fall in this quadrant, high value, low risk. These are straightforward stories with clear value. So after tackling risky items, so these should be our next target. Next, we will attend these user stories with low value and low risk. These user stories don't add much value, but they are easy to do. It is good to include only if the team has spare capacity. The user stories in this quadrant have low value and high risk. These are dangerous. They add little value but carry very high risk. So usually it is not worth investing in. So we saw this method ensures the team invests effort where it matters most. Tackling valuable risky items early, delivering quickly wins next, and avoiding low value distractions. The third method is Kano model. Kano model is all about understanding how different features affect customer satisfaction. It helps us see which stories will truly delight users, which are expected as basic needs, and which might not matter at all. Here is how it works. Must be. These are the hygiene factors. If they are missing, users will be very unhappy. But if they are present, users simply consider them normal. Imagine you are booking a flight online. The booking system must work reliably. Your payment goes through, your seat is confirmed, and your ticket is generated. Customer don't praise the airline for allowing me to book a ticket because that is just expected. This is basic. But if the system crashes during checkout or you are charged twice, the dissatisfaction is immediate and very strong. The second one is one dimensional. The more you deliver, the happier users are. Less of it causes dissatisfaction and more of it causes satisfaction. Think about airport check-in. If let's say check-in takes 40 minutes, so passengers are frustrated. If it takes 10 minutes, they are happier. If it is instant via mobile boarding pass, that's even better. So the satisfaction level rises directly in proportion to the performance improvement. Third is attractive or delighters. These are the pleasant surprises. Users don't expect them. So their absence doesn't cause complaints. But when they appear, they create delight. Suppose your flight is delayed by 3 hours. Normally, passengers would be annoyed and may have to ask customer service for help. But imagine the airline automatically sends you a notification saying, "We are sorry for the delay. Here is a free meal voucher and a $50 credit toward your next flight." This wasn't expected, but it transforms frustration into a positive, memorable experience. Next is indifferent. These are the features that customers don't really care about either way. Their presence or absence has no real impact on satisfaction. For example, suppose an app that changes its background to a seasonal theme. It shows snowflakes in December, flowers in spring. While some users may find it cute, but most of them won't pay much attention to it. It doesn't affect whether they continue using the app or not. Next is reverse. These are the features that some users may like but others actually dislike, meaning they can reduce satisfaction for part of your audience. For example, autoplay videos on a website. Some people enjoy content starting automatically, but many find it distracting or even irritating. especially if sound is enabled. For them, the feature actually reduces satisfaction rather than increasing it. Next is Carl Weiger's relative weighting. This method is a practical and numbers driven way to prioritize the user stories. Instead of arguing over which story feels more important, this method uses four simple scoring factors. Benefit. What value do we gain if we build this story? Penalty. What do we lose if we don't build it? Cost. How much effort is needed to deliver it? Risk. How uncertain or complex is it to implement? Once we have rated a story on these four factors, we calculate the priority using this formula: benefit plus penalty whole divided by cost plus risk. So the result gives a number. The higher the score, the higher the priority. Let's understand this method with one example. Suppose we are developing one product, fitness tracking mobile app, and for this we will rate the user stories. Story A, daily water intake logging. As a user, I want to log my daily water intake so I can track hydration. The team scores benefit as 7 for this story because it is widely useful for health. Penalty they score 5. People will miss it, but the app still works without it. And the cost they score 2 because it is simple to build. And risk they score 2 because of the low technical risk. So the priority for this user story we can calculate with the formula is equal to 7 plus 5 whole divided by 2 plus 2. The answer is 3. Similarly, we have another story, smartwatch auto sync. As a user, I want to connect my smartwatch so step syncs automatically. So the team scores benefit as 9 because it's a huge convenience and modern users expect this. And penalty they score 8. Without it, user may switch to the competitors. And cost they score 5 because integration is complex. And risk they score 4 because this depends on the third party APIs. So priority we can calculate for this user story: 9 plus 8 whole divided by 5 plus 4. The answer is 1.89. We have another story, story C, custom dashboard themes. As a user, I want to choose custom themes for my app dashboard. So the team score the benefit here 4 because it is nice touch but not critical. And penalty they scored 2. It is not a big deal if missing. And cost they scored 3 because of UI design effort. And risk is 1, very low risk. So priority we can calculate 4 plus 2 whole divided by 3 plus 1. The answer is 1.5. So now we can analyze all three stories. So story A, water intake logging, scored 3, which is highest. So we should do it first. And story B, smartwatch integration, it scored 1.89. So it comes second. So story C, which is about themes, it has scored 1.5, means lowest priority. It is more of a cosmetic feature, so it can wait until later. The beauty of this method is that it gives us a clear objective way to rank stories based on value, cost and risk. It helps us deliver the most impact early without wasting effort on low priority items. And that's wrap up our deep dive into user stories. We have learned how to write them, refine them, test them, size them, and even prioritize them for maximum value. So, next time you see a backlog full of user stories, you will know exactly how to turn them into action. So, keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep delivering value. Until next time, namaste, goodbye, sampai jumpa.